Hey everyone, and welcome to Weekly WoW News. On this show, I recap the news about World of Warcraft from the previous week. I don't go into a comprehensive coverage of every single tiny little piece of news, but I pill out the things that I think are the most interesting and the ones that I'd want to talk about. So, if that sounds like something for you, stick around. If not, I'll see you on the next video. Now, before we get into the news, I want to make a really quick announcement. I've been pushing this hard all week because I am doing a giveaway for reaching 250 subs on my channel. It's a thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. So, if you haven't entered yet, check out the channel page, go to the videos tab, and look for the September update video. That's got the rules, the entry, and all that kind of stuff. That's where you can participate. I have a prize pool consisting of a $20 US BattleNet gift card, some pets from some battle pets from some raids, and also I have a pool of over 120 different game codes that I'm going to be handing out game codes from there. So in short, the way the giveaway is going to work is you're going to be able to select any of the prizes that you want. Some of them will be limited, obviously, but yeah, I'm going to be choosing 8 winners. I think right now I probably have 5 or 6 participants, so you stand a pretty good chance of getting a prize if you participate. So once again, hit the channel, go to the videos page, check out the September update video for all of the information on that. All right, let's get started with the news. As always, I'm going to kick things off with the sort of checkbox ticket, talk about it, things that I don't need to go too in-depth in, and then we're going to ramp our way up into the stuff that involves a little bit more discussion. Now, it was a little bit of a slower news week this week, but that doesn't mean there aren't some interesting things to talk about. So let's go through kind of the fast ones here, which is we got a hot fix on September 26th, so now that players that are AFK in Warfronts will automatically be kicked. This hot fix also implemented some other stuff, but I didn't find that to be too interesting. For me, the big thing to note was AFK players get kicked from Warfronts now, so that's pretty good. We had a class balance tuning that came out today. This involved some buffs and nerfs, I think primarily buffs, for Unholy Death Knights, Feral Druids, on and on and on. You can check out the list here. The main thing that I wanted to comment on about this is all of these are like all damage increased by 4%. All damage or mind flay damage increased by 10%. These are super boring, and I get that what Blizzard is trying to do is like balance numbers, but I feel like the core essence of class balance right now that needs to be addressed is the way the classes play and how their Azerite traits are interacting with how interesting it is to play your character. There are definitely some underlying issues as well, but to be honest, I've played Unholy Death Knight, and if I hit for 100 damage and now I'm hitting for 104 damage, I don't care. That's not going to make me feel like my class is more balanced. So we got some increases, some buffs to some of these classes, but I don't think they're really what the player base is looking for, so probably still a lot of work to be done there. Next up, we've got several different models and visuals from the PTR. Remember, I'm not going to spoil like story things like that on the news channel. I mainly just want to look at like new spell effects and new models and things like that. So the Draenei Shaman totems were updated to have higher resolution models now. So these are the old models from way back in Burning Crusade, and they've now been given this spiffy, pretty awesome looking modern update to their totems. So that's pretty cool. That's something that Blizzard is doing like gradually over time, is updating some of the old effects that are constantly used currently in the modern game. Goblin and Worgen models, please. So we got updated visuals for those. We got some armor pieces here. This is the Dark Ranger armor, which is a recolor of a set from Warlords of Draenor, so I find this to be pretty disappointing. Hopefully it's just a placeholder and they come up with something cooler, but I don't know. On one hand, I feel like the art team put a lot into creating the zones and stuff of this expansion, and I'm guessing there's an environmental art team and there's a separate art team for the armor and weapons, and I don't know. I'm not overly impressed with what they're doing in this expansion so far. We also got a couple more weapons that are going to be from the new upcoming raid. We've got a couple of items. I think the Forsaken pole arms are from the upcoming Warfront. The Shrine staff is from the 2 boss raid, and the Zuldazar stuff is from the main raid coming up in 8.1. So a couple of new models there. Paladins got new animations for a few of their abilities. So Avenging Wrath, I'll go ahead and mute this, now actually turns you into like a solar angel. This is much more pronounced, much more noticeable, and I think overall, I think as someone who has been playing a pretty good amount of Paladin in the recent expansions, these spell effects are pretty good. They definitely feel more powerful. A lot of times I would hit Avenging Wrath and I'd be like, okay, I got like a flashlight on my back. I guess, these look a lot better. Beacon of Light is another one that got an update. And the one that I'm most excited about actually is Light of Dawn, because I've been playing a Holy Paladin healing build where it's all about melee, and one of the big abilities that I use is Light of Dawn, and half the time I can't even tell that I cast it because the spell animations look so weak. But that looks cool. And they take like forever to show the second cast in this video, but it actually looks like you're doing some kind of like Kamehameha blast or something of light. Boom! That's dope. It's like a shotgun blast of light, and always with this picture. Why? Every time. I'm not gonna have a news show without that picture popping up. Anyway, those Paladin spell effects are really awesome, and I think they're a really good upgrade compared to what we have right now. So those are on the 8.1 PTR, so they're not out yet. So don't get too excited. Next, we got an in-game look at the Dwarven Heritage Armor. So this is the set. We kind of got a artistic preview in the reveal for patch 8.1, and now they're showing off in-game. And I gotta say, I still think it looks pretty cool. I'm not crazy about this dwarf's face, but, with a cooler, more majestic beard and a better dwarven face in there, I think this armor looks pretty sweet. And here's the same model on the female dwarves, so yeah, I like this quite a bit. I still really like the shoulders. Shoulders are really good. All right, we have some theory on how drop chances work for island expeditions. Now, this is a big, long post, and we could take a look at the simple version here instead of the complicated version. But what it really boils down to is, in theory, this is not confirmed by Blizzard. It's a theory based on a large amount of island expedition runs. The rewards are generally themed off of particular creatures and invasions that happen during island expedition. For example, Squawks, which is a parrot mount, is a mount reward from island expeditions that have a pirate theme. So basically what this is saying is that in order to get the maximum amount of potential rewards, you would want to kill the enemies from those invasions. You would want to try to, like, let's say you're getting Squawks, and one of the island expeditions for the week is pirate themed. You may want to farm island expeditions that particular week because you'll be able to kill those pirates over and over and over and over again and have a chance at getting this particular reward. Now, that's not confirmed, so I don't want to go too much more into detail here. You can find this article on Wowhead if you really want to read into it some more, but until it's actually confirmed, I don't want to, speak it out as gospel truth and offer my thoughts on it. I just wanted to point out that that's the theory, so maybe you could test that in your own personal farming of island expeditions to try to look for a particular reward that you want. Next up, we had some new items added to the Blizzard Virtual Ticket for BlizzCon. We were waiting to see what they were going to offer for World of Warcraft players because they always offer some sort of in-game goodies. And what we got is we got a banner for the Alliance. So this is the banner here. It's actually really big. It's a really big banner. If you look at the picture here, you can see this is an orc next to the Horde banner. So they are quite huge. So you get a big banner. And then also they added in That's pretty cool. They added in these cloaks. So the Alliance has a very fancy blue Alliance cape. It's got the Alliance lion on it. We got a nice naked human to show it off. You know, I'm not crazy about these kind of tails on the end of the cloak. I'm really not. And then the Horde got the same thing, but instead of those, they got chains on the end, which is pretty cool. I'm not trying to be biased to the Horde here, I swear. So yeah, we got some cloaks, we got some banners. The other big thing that they announced was that there would be a demo for World of Warcraft Classic that's going to be playable at BlizzCon. But if you have the virtual ticket, you're going to be able to play that demo at home as well. Now, I have a small video talking about this already on the channel. You could check that out. I really don't want to repeat myself here. And I've got more thoughts on Classic that'll be coming in a future video. Just know that that's one of the things they added to the virtual ticket. So if that's really interesting to you, then and you were holding off and deciding on whether or not you wanted a ticket, maybe that's what pushes you over the edge into getting one. All right. Next, this is where we get into a little bit more of the kind of discussion topics here. We've only got a couple more posts to go. Blizzard responded to feedback about the downsides of the Azerite system. There was a post in which a user, a player, tried to sum up a lot of the big, broad bullet points that a lot of the community is seeing as problems in the Azerite system. This post was well received, it was upvoted quite a bit, and Lore, who is one of the community managers for World of Warcraft, responded to this, and in his response, in a lot of ways, he basically, I don't want to say he avoided answering the question, but in some cases it seemed like maybe he didn't interpret the complaint the way it was meant and addressed it from a totally different angle that didn't touch on the stuff that was put forward in the actual post itself. Sometimes he straight up just said, yep, you're right, and we're not going to change this. I think one of the biggest things for me, right here, it says the Reforged cost reintroduces the exact spec lock problem people had in Legion, but worse. Oh, you want a PvP? Gotta reforge your Azerite. You want a PvE now? Reforge time. Oh, you need to tank this boss? Hearth and reforge your Azerite. On and on and on. Basically talking about how unless you are going to have multiple sets of armor and stuff, this reforging thing is prohibitively expensive for people who want to play multiple roles or multiple specs. And down here in his paragraph, Lore responds and he says, as to the point about reforging costs, these costs get so high because we want the behavior you're describing, reforging constantly depending on what you're doing, to be unsustainable. So he straight out says, we don't want you to reforge, which means they want you to farm multiple sets of gear. And I can understand that. I can understand them wanting to extend the length of your game, but you have different types of players. You have players like me, who I play all the alt characters in the world, and I'm never going to play one character enough that I need to farm the most powerful gear with the best traits ever on that particular character. So honestly, when I get a piece of Azerite gear, I don't really care what's on it. From a player standpoint of me personally playing the game, I don't actually care about the Azerite system at all. I wish there were something more interesting to do, but there isn't. But I don't feel like it negatively affects me and what I do in the game. However, you have players who they are hardcore and they're into a single character that they play and they want to min-max everything and do the best that they can. And some of those players want to play multiple specs, or maybe they're in a raid where they need to be flexible and change from being a tank to an off-tank to a DPS, or a healer to a caster. And for those people, essentially telling them that, we don't want to let you reforge is telling them we want you to have to farm gear for every single one of those roles or specializations that you want to play. And it's not like it has been in the past where you have to go to a particular dungeon to get the best piece of gear for you and you can just kind of target it. A lot of these ways, that you can go in. It's up in the air whether you even get something in the first place. Now, Blizzard did come back and confirm that as far as the Azerite gear itself goes, there is no randomization of what traits are going to be on what piece of gear from dungeons. So you can go into a dungeon, you can look at a piece of Azerite gear, and you could say, oh, this one has this trait, that's the trait I want, or it has this combination of traits, and those are the traits that I want for this specialization. And then you could run that dungeon over and over and over and over again, and when that piece eventually drops, it will have those traits. It's not like going in and saying, well, first I have to get this chess piece to drop, then I have to hope that it has the outer circle trait that I want, then the middle circle trait that I want, then the next. You can go in and say, yep, I know what traits are on this piece of gear. Then it's a matter of getting it to drop and seeing if it will Titan Forge. However, that's for stuff that you can just farm on a boss. If you have, the rewards from like your mythic chest or some of the raid drops and things like that, it really is kind of up in the air whether you are going to get something from those that you actually want. Now, the raid you can kind of target, but you only get to run that once a week. The mythics you can't really target because you're just opening a chest and hoping that you get something. And so overall, I think, telling people like, this is what we intend you to do, it seems to be at odds, right? You want to get the player to farm up this gear, but you're not giving them the ability to do that. And I think that there's some work to be done there on Blizzard's side to try to make this system make sense. And in all honesty, I kind of feel like the Azerite system overall has failed, and Blizzard is at a point where they just can't do anything about it. So I think that what is going to happen is they're either going to try something super radical with the Azerite system, just totally out of left field to try to shake things up, to try to make it viable, or they'll tone everything down, and later on in the expansion, they're going to introduce a new system that is going to work better. It's going to make more sense. So in Legion, I'm not saying this is a direct parallel, but in Legion, we had the artifact weapons, and then we had like the Netherlight Crucible come in and give us some other things that we could do with our gear. I'm starting to think that maybe with Azerite gear, because they can't find a good way to make this meet their goals and player goals, that they may just kind of make it kind of flat, just kind of neutral, like a thing that you do that's kind of fun but isn't really too crazy, and then maybe later on in the expansion they bring something else in. So I really just wanted to touch on those parts. I think this is an interesting read, and if you're more invested in the Azerite armor system than I am, you should definitely go and check out this blue post and see what they had to say in response to the criticism, because depending on what your problems are, this could paint a pretty dark picture of, the expectations that you can have from Blizzard as far as your hopes of, well, they just have to do this and then it'll be great. A lot of that stuff gets addressed in here, and I don't think that the response that we got was a very positive one, or one that provided a lot of hope to people or a lot of justification for their patience and their leniency with Blizzard getting all this fixed. Okay, there's another blue post. This was in response to the one we just looked at, because essentially what happened is I think the majority of the vocal community on forums came back, and to Lore's reply, they responded with much more negativity and much more passion than what I just laid out. I tried to be fairly rational and reasonable, but they definitely came back really hard, and you could tell that through the writing here, Lore was definitely shaken up a little emotionally, whether it was, anxiety because he felt like he messed up, or whether he got defensive because he felt like, people were attacking him personally. I don't know. But he goes in and he responds to some other things about the Azerite system. And one of the big points here in this particular chunk of blue text is someone talking about how they would almost rather just level a second class. Like if they're playing warrior, they'd almost rather level another warrior rather than keep trying to farm the same crap over and over again on their first warrior, because maybe they just have better luck on the second one. And this is something people did in Legion, where the legendary system, you had that bad luck reduction, and they would make 2 or 3 warriors and then level them all up and then see what that first legendary or the first 2 or 3 legendaries were, and then they would play the warrior that got the best legendaries. Now, someone is kind of bringing that point up here and saying, "Oh, I'd rather do that." I don't know if I entirely agree with that, but I'm also not, doing mythic rating and super high level mythic plus keystones. So this is another good, interesting blue post to check out if you want to read through it. And just a response there. I don't feel like this was the response that was needed or that it cleared everything up or made everything okay by any means. But definitely check this out. Now, I will have a video at some point going over what I think about the Azerite system and maybe what I think could be done to change it. I've kind of given most of my opinion, which is it just hasn't worked. Sometimes you screw up, and it sucks that Blizzard has screwed up on what is supposed to be one of the most prominent and central features of this expansion. If they had done this well, done this correctly, I think the game would be in a much different state. But, that's not the news, right? Finally, totally off topic with WoW, so if you're just here for the WoW news, you can go ahead and split out of here. But this is Blizzard news. There's a new event going on in Heroes of the Storm, which I do play occasionally sometimes. The Fall of King's Crest. This is kind of their Halloween event. We've got some cool stuff in here. We've got like a undead Alexstrasza, some other different Blizzard characters in here. We got Maiev. So I just wanted to put out here, let you know, hey, this event is going on. It's got some limited time rewards attached to it, some player icons and stuff like that. And if you're interested in playing some AI games with me, drop a comment or in the comment section below once this video is posted onto the channel, and we'll get together and we'll play some games. So that should be a lot of fun. All right, well, right here at the end, I wanted to remind you one more time that I am doing a giveaway for reaching 250 subscribers on my channel. Head to my channel page, click the videos tab, and look for the September update video. It's got kind of a brown and orange thumbnail. It's got all the details in there up for grabs, a $20 BattleNet balance card, some battle pets from some Cataclysm raids, and then I've got a pool of over 120 games. Unique, different games that you'll be able to choose from. So check that post out for how to enter and how everything is going to be working. I'm going to be picking 8 winners. I've got 5 or 6 participants right now, so you stand a pretty good chance of winning something. And I'm talking games from like Overwatch to Destiny to Stardew Valley to Undertale to Warhammer 30. What is it? Warhammer 30k 3, Dawn of War 3. Man, there's been so many of those games and so many expansions, but lots of games and stuff, so be sure to check that out. All right, I'm going to pop over to the chat real quick, and I am going to see if there were any questions. Let's see. Yeah. Got a comment here. The Azerite system is really lacking. You quickly outlevel your neck piece and aren't able to put the traits in the Azerite pieces. Also, Azerite rewards aren't very good either. Yep, I agree with all those points. A lot of times I am picking up Azerite Gear and can't even use the traits on it, and it's like, okay, well, whatever. If you watched my stream from yesterday, which is up on the channel now, you'll see I get a new piece of Azerite Gear on my druid. I think no, I level up my neck piece and I spend I don't know how long, like 3 or 4 island expeditions just forgetting to add the trait from my Azerite piece that I was now able to unlock. And I think that speaks volumes to how interesting the trait system is and how big of a difference it makes to your gameplay. So anyway, thanks for tuning in this week. I will see you guys on the next video, on the next stream. And have a great time in World of Warcraft. Thanks for watching. Hey, I told this thing to stop streaming and it didn't do it. Look at it. Stop.